Welcome to No Paint No Gains, I'm Ray, and in this episode I'll be fulfilling a special request and painting this Roper miniature from D&D Nolzur's marvelous Unpainted miniatures. Now this miniature does come with a base included, but it's a bit thin for my liking, so I'll be replacing it with a slightly thicker one that I have lying around. Since the miniature doesn't come attached to the base, I'll be using some super glue to glue it in place. Once attached to the base, you might notice some small gaps in the sides of the miniature where it doesn't sit completely flush and the base is exposed. To fix these exposed areas, I'm going to add a little bit of PVA glue and then cover it up with some of my homemade basing mixture. In addition to that, I'll also be adding some skulls and small little jawbones around the base to signify some of the past victims that the Roper might have gotten to. And this is kind of what it looks like when it's all said and done. I then primed the miniature in black. For the main Roper body, I'll be dry brushing these colors, starting with the Stegodon Scale Green. Since this is a dry brush, you want to remove the majority of the pigment from the brush by swiping it across a paper towel before working on the model. After the Stegodon Scale Green, I dry brushed some Thunderhawk Blue and finished with a 50-50 mix of Thunderhawk Blue and white for the final highlights. The rocky texture of the Roper is perfect for dry brushing and will save a lot of time when it comes to painting. The difficult part here is remembering to sweep the brush across the surface without exerting too much pressure. Otherwise, you'll develop ugly paint streaks across the surface of the miniature and it won't look as good. Next, I use ash gray for the rocky terrain around the Roper. As before, I'll be dry brushing the paint, just in a more controlled fashion so as to avoid getting any paint on the previously painted Roper body. Afterwards, I dry brush some highlights using a 50-50 mix of ash gray and white. This really makes the cool blue color of the Roper stand out more. For the fleshy portions surrounding the mouth and eyes, I'll be using these colors. I initially started going for a purple tone, but didn't like how it looked, so I switched to a red tone to contrast the cool blue of the stone color. I started with a base of Mephiston Red, followed by a generous wash of Caribbean Crimson. I'll then work my way through each brighter color, highlighting a smaller surface area every time. My goal is to have the highest points be more of an orange, while retaining some of the red in the deeper recesses. I used Evil Sun Scarlet to pick out the tongue and raised areas inside the mouth, while leaving the Caribbean Crimson in the recesses to increase contrast. I base coated the teeth and skulls with a Ushabti bone and then followed up with a Seraphim Sepia wash. With the wash dry, I then went back with some Ushabti bone and began to highlight the teeth, starting halfway, working towards the tip of the teeth. I also picked out some of the upward facing areas and sharp corners of the skulls and jaw around the base. For a final highlight, I used some white on the very tips of the teeth and the sharpest edges on the skulls and jaw. I wasn't too sure about what to do with the tentacles, so I ended up basing them with Stegodon Scale Green and then just washed over them with Drakenhof Nightshade. I'm okay with how they turned out. For the eye, I base coated the sclera in black. I then proceeded to use a series of yellows for the iris. I started with the darkest yellow, and using small brush strokes I sketched out the shape of the iris. I then worked inwards, adding additional layers with the lighter colors. Take your time with this step and try to avoid a perfectly smooth circle for the iris. By using small brush strokes, you'll create a natural texture that will add a lot of character to the model. Finally, I added a black slit for the pupil. The last step is to clean up the rim of the base with some black paint, and this roper is ready for its grand reveal. That's it for this video, guys, and as always, thank you so much for sticking around. Don't forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe so you can stay up to date on when new videos are posted. If you're new to the channel, check out some of the other videos and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm still fairly new to all this, so feedback is always greatly appreciated. Thanks again, and I'll catch you in the next one.